Here are the top stories for today, January 24, 2020. Malacanang said there is no recommendation yet to ban visitors from Wuhan, China entering the Philippines. Alert level 4 still remains in effect over Taal volcano. President Duterte signs law raising taxes on alcohol beverages and electronic cigarettes. And Kabagan Isabela marks their annual Pansi Festival. Good day, I'm Bench Bondok. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. We begin the newscast with the developments on the coronavirus outbreak. Malacanang on Wednesday said there is no recommendation yet to ban visitors from Wuhan, China from entering the Philippines. According to presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo, there was no alarming level that might prompt the issuance of a total travel ban on travelers from central China. This despite the outbreak of the 2019 novel coronavirus or nCoV that originated in Wuhan. Panelo assured the public that the palace would take prompt action in case concerned state agencies recommend the issuance of a travel ban on tourists from Wuhan.
I talked with Secretary Duque and he said that we are on top of the situation. It does not reach an alarming level that we had to do some drastic measures like prohibiting people from entering, especially those suspected of having that kind of virus. So far naman mukhang, I understand there is only one minor coming from China that arrived in Cebu that was suspected of having that. Sabi naman ng Secretary Duque, okay naman yun, na gamot naman. Tapos I was asking him, what can we do? Sabi niya, alam mo, ang talagang gamot doon, preventive. Kailangan healthy tayo, yung ating immune system malakas.
Staying with the government's response, preventive measures are in place to curb the spread of the deadly 2019 novel coronavirus in the country. Our Ruth Abigita Carlos has the report.
The Associated Labor Unions on Thursday urged the government and the airline industry to ensure safety and health protection protocols for passengers and aviation workers to curb the spread of the 2019 novel coronavirus. ALU National Executive Vice President Gerard Senos said, measures guaranteeing enhanced protection from the risk of exposure must be put in place for these workers. Meanwhile, the Trade Union Congress of the Philippines proposed that passengers coming from cities that were infected by the virus must have a separate arrival passageway prior to meeting the public. And as part of precautionary measure, the Civil Aeronautics Board on Thursday announced the indefinite suspension of flights between Wuhan and the Philippines to prevent the entry of coronavirus in the country. The board also directed air carriers with flights coming directly or connecting from China to get a health declaration checklist from the Bureau of Quarantine. In Manila, about 100,000 face masks will be distributed to the public. It is in line with the government's precautionary measures to provide protection for Manileños. Mayor Isko Moreno said that while there is no case of coronavirus in the city, the public must remain alert and must take preventive measures against the virus. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Ruth Abigita Carlos.
On to other headlines, the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology said Alert Level 4 still remains in effect over Taal volcano. This means that hazardous explosive eruption is possible within hours to days. PHIVOX said the main crater of Taal volcano for the past 24 hours has been characterized by weak to moderate emission of white steam-laden plumes 50 to 500 meters high. Sulfur dioxide emission was measured at an average of 141 tons per day. A total of 467 volcanic earthquakes, including 8 low-frequency earthquakes, were recorded for the past 24 hours. PHIVOC said such intense activity likely signifies continuous magmatic intrusion beneath the Taal's edifice, which may lead to further eruptive activity. Based on Pag-asa's wind forecast, if the eruption plume remains below 5 kilometers, ash will drift to the municipality's west and northwest of the main crater. However, if a major eruption occurs during the day and the eruption column exceeds 7 kilometers, ash will also drift over some parts of Laguna and Quezon provinces. Residents around the volcano are advised to guard against the effects of heavy and prolonged ashfall. Civil aviation authorities must also advise pilots to avoid the airspace around Taal volcano, as airborne ash and ballistic fragments from the eruption column pose hazards to aircraft. PHIVOC reiterates total evacuation of Taal Volcano Island and high-risk areas as identified in the hazard maps within the 14-kilometer radius from Taal's main crater and along the Pansipit River Valley, where fishing has been observed. Meanwhile, aid amounting to millions of pesos from other countries continued to pour in for Taal volcano eruption-affected residents. The Chinese embassy in Manila donated 1 million yuan, or about 7.5 million pesos, for the relief and rehabilitation of the areas affected by Taal volcano's eruption. Earlier, South Korean Ambassador Han Dong-man turned over $200,000, or about 10 million pesos, to the Philippine Red Cross, an amount seen to help about 45,000 people displaced in the region. U.S. Ambassador to the Philippines Sung Kim also announced that Washington is providing Manila with $100,000, or around 5.1 million pesos, in relief assistance for the communities affected by the volcano's eruption. On Thursday, the Japanese government also extended an in-kind emergency assistance of anti-dust respirators through the Japan International Cooperation Agency, or JICA. Still to come, President Duterte signs law raising taxes on alcoholic beverages and electronic cigarettes. And National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon Jr. wants to pursue localized peace talks to end insurgency in the country. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Even as we reach out to every Filipino child or adult as mandated by the Constitution, still there are those who cannot make it to formal education. And so we are giving them this opportunity. So the poor, the marginalized, the young girl who has to raise a family at the age of 10, or a mother or a baby, to pursue, we give them a chance to pursue education. The young boy who has to help his fisherfolk family or to work in factories, in farms during the day, they must have a chance also to take advantage of our educational facilities. So we give them this chance to learn, to develop their capacities, pursue higher education, and land better jobs.
In other news, President Rodrigo Duterte has signed into law a measure raising taxes on alcohol beverages and electronic cigarettes. Malacanang on Thursday released a copy of Republic Act 11467, which Duterte signed on January 22. The new law raises excise taxes on distilled spirits to 42 pesos per proof liter in 2020, 47 pesos in 2021, 52 pesos in 2022, 59 pesos in 2023, and 66 pesos per proof liter in 2024. Excise taxes on distilled spirits will increase by 6% every year starting 2025. These are also different from the ad valorem tax imposed on the products, which is equivalent to 22% of the price of the distilled spirits. Distilled spirits include whiskey, brandy, rum, gin, and vodka, and other similar products or mixtures. Wine products are levied with a 50 pesos excise tax per liter this year. The rate of excise tax will increase by 6% every year beginning 2021. For beer products and other fermented liquors, a 35 pesos excise tax per liter will be imposed starting this year. 37 pesos per liter in 2021, 39 pesos per liter in 2022, 41 pesos per liter in 2023, and 43 pesos per liter in 2024. Levies for beer products and other fermented liquors will increase by 6% every year starting 2025. Meantime, every pack of heated tobacco products with 20 units or more will have an excise tax of 25 pesos in 2020, 27 pesos and 50 centavos in 2021, 30 pesos in 2022, and 32 pesos in 2023. Excise taxes for salt nicotine products are at 37 pesos per milliliter or a fraction thereof this year, 42 pesos in 2021, 47 pesos in 2022, and 52 pesos per milliliter or a fraction thereof in 2023. For freebase or classic nicotine products, excise tax rate is raised to 45 pesos per pack in 2020, 50 pesos per pack in 2021, 55 pesos per pack in 2022, and 60 pesos per pack in 2023. The excise tax for all vapor products will go up by 5% every year in the succeeding years. The Finance Department has estimated that the higher taxes on alcohol beverages and e-cigarettes would yield 47.9 billion pesos for the Universal Healthcare Program next year and a total of 356.9 billion pesos for the program over the next 5 years. Meanwhile, National Security Advisor Hermogenes Espelon Jr. has urged local government units to pursue community consultation and localized peace talks as a strategy to end insurgency in their provinces. Following a meeting with the Eastern Visayas Regional Task Force on ending the local communist insurgency on Thursday, Espelon said localized peace talks have been yielding good results in several provinces. Consultations and localized talks have been yielding results in Leyte, Panay, Negros, Surigao, Agusan, Davao, Zamboanga, and Bukidnon. He said this development would not happen if done at the national level since there are many conditions set by the NPA. In Leyte alone, 262 former New People's Army fighters and diehard supporters surrendered to the local government last year through localized peace talks. Eastern Samar Governor Ben Evaldone, chair of the Eastern Visayas Regional Peace and Order Council, said community dialogue and localized talks are viable approaches. Army 8th Infantry Division Commander Pio Dinosa III said there are ongoing local peace talks in Samar provinces after some rebels expressed their intention to surrender. On to some business headlines. The Philippine economy expanded by 6.4% in the fourth quarter of 2019 on the back of a recovery in government spending, bringing the full-year economic growth to 5.9%. Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Ernesto Pernia said the Philippines likely ranked second only behind Vietnam's 7% and higher than China's 6% growth rate in the fourth quarter. He noted that the economy faced several challenges at the start of 2019 due to delays in government spending brought by the budget impasse as well as the election ban. Pernia said last year's economic growth was slowest in 8 years and slightly below the low end of the 6 to 6.5% revised target of the government for the year. The Philippine Statistics Authority reported that among the major economic sectors, services posted the fastest growth in the fourth quarter of 2019 with 7.9%. Industry, meanwhile, grew by 5.4%, while agriculture, hunting, forestry, and fishing registered a growth of 1.5%. The Department of Agriculture has prepared a rehabilitation plan to help affected backyard hog raisers in Pangasinan whose pigs were culled as part of the protocol against African swine fever or ASF. Aside from the indemnification fund amounting to 5,000 pesos per head of culled pigs, the backyard hog raisers in the two towns will be given either 3 cows or 13 free-range chickens. The DA is in the process of procuring heads of cow, worth 25.9 million pesos and free-range chicken worth 1.83 million pesos as part of their rehabilitation plan. The department will also train the beneficiaries on how to raise cows and chickens. The aid is expected to be distributed within the first quarter of this year. The DA also offers loan assistance worth 30,000 pesos without interest and payable in 3 years to the affected hog raisers. Meanwhile, the Department of Agriculture has designated several model rice farms in the Davao region. Meanwhile, authorities rescue a French tourist who went missing for days in Mountain Province. Our Janice Cave has tonight's regional headlines.
The Department of Agriculture in Davao Region has identified model rice farms where farmers can learn, apply technologies, and avail of services that would raise their productivity. The DA said the areas with organized and operational cooperatives are in Davao de Oro, particularly in Nabunturan and Compostela, Carmen and Santo Tomas towns in Davao del Norte, and the towns of Panay-Banay, Katiil, and Boston in Davao Oriental. The identified rice farms are recipients of programs covered by the Rice Competitive Enhancement Fund. The DA will ensure that more model farms will be established in rice-producing towns. Meanwhile, after the closure of the famous Sugba Lagoon in Siargao Island, Surigao del Norte, the Magpupungko Beach Lagoon and Rock Formation was temporarily closed starting last Sunday. The area will remain closed until February 19 this year to allow recovery and rehabilitation. The municipal government of Claver also announced the temporary closure of the Kabuhuan Islet in Barangay Lapinigan to allow its natural healing and recovery. The islet will be opened again starting March 27, 2020, it said. In Mountain Province, a French tourist who went missing for 8 days after hiking was found by a team of rescuers Wednesday afternoon. Police located 70-year-old Jacques Francholi in a ravine at Sitio Sikling, Barangay Latang in need of medical attention. Francholi checked in at an inn at Barangay Gawana on January 13 and was reported missing after days of sightseeing on January 21. Mayor Clark Ngaya reminded all tourists to follow the rules and regulations for their safety. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
More stories from the newsroom. South Korea is reducing its visa processing period for Filipinos. We find out later by how many days. And Cabagan Isabela marks their annual Pansi Festival. These stories are next. Stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Since the President signed Executive Order Number 2 Series of 2016 back in July 23, 2016, madami ng mga naging developments sa ating National FOI program. We have almost all of the 1,000 national government agencies, GOCCs, SUCs, and local water districts with their FOI manuals. And half of that are on our FOI portal, foi.gov.ph. Meaning to say, ang mga kababayan natin can ask information from different government offices online or on paper-based.
I tried to access the portal and then I tried to test it, and then I was hoping that just an ordinary program of the government, a new program, so maybe they're adjusting with the system. But after 3 days, I received an email from the FOI. My query was answered after 3 days, so I was very happy and satisfied with the program.
The top most requested information on the FOI program is legal documents. That makes up 42% of FOI requests. 39% of FOI requests are from datasets and statistics. 6% are personal information. So people are asking for copies of official SAL-in as well as accomplishment reports and travel reports.
From the past, kailangan kapag magre-request ka ng information, you have to personally visit the offices. Kahit galing ka sa malayo, even if you're from province, yun yung address ng FOI kahit nasan ka, as long as you have reliable internet connection, you can access information or you can request. Aside from that, it is somehow proactive. Kung yung request mo is na-request na ng ibang tao, makikita mo na siya doon. So you don't have to make another request.
We are able to harmonize the Executive Order number 2 on the freedom of information with the data privacy law. Napaka-importante lang ang poprotektahin ng ating mga opisyal at mga kasama sa gobyerno ay ang mga sensitive personal information.
Siguro ang pinagkaiba lang dun sa administrasyon ngayon na nakapagpasa nung FOIEO is talagang hindi sila tumigil. Hindi sila tumigil hanggat hindi nila na ipapasa kasi alam nila na kailangan yun ng tao na hindi lang para i-practice ng tao kung paano nila gagamitin yung right to information, but because the administration knows that this FOIEO will empower the people to practice their right to know kasi yun yung magiging gateway din para mas makapag-participate sila sa decision making.
It's a very successful program for me since I'm one of the first beneficiaries of the program, so I could attest of its efficacy and its efficiency.
Ang FOI ay hindi lang para sa transparency. Hindi lang siya tool para labanan ang korupsyon and to maintain accountability in government. FOI is for knowledge, it's for information, it's for transparency, and it's for empowerment.
The provincial government of Camiguin reports vast improvements in the province's economy as one of the country's most competitive provinces. It assures that despite its progress, it will apply measures to protect the environment. Arechi Tacuba has the story.
With the province's fast economic growth recording 213.088 million pesos on investment value for the first 3 quarters of 2019, Governor Jardine Jesus Romualdo assures environmental protection and sustainability with the implementation of population carrying capacity in the province during his State of the Province address at Camiguin Convention Center. In doing such, survey enumerators of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources or DNR Regional Office gathered secondary data on infrastructure, population, water consumption for households, hotels and resorts, waste generation, wastewater, biodiversity, municipal profile, and other limiting factors to be used in data analysis.
As one community, our vision is to widen the path and lead every Camiguinon step by step towards our vision, no matter what and how it takes. I have said this before and will say it again. Bawat oras, sama-sama sa hirap at ginhawa.
Noting the 11.56% increase in commercial aircraft movement and 7% increase in passenger traffic, Romualdo said there is a need to take further actions to protect and conserve the island's environment. Thus, the Climate Adaptation, Mitigation, and Disaster Risk Reduction Center shall ensure all policies, laws, and regulations and ordinances are enforced pertaining to the conservation and protection of the environment and natural resources.
We will continue work very hard on an environment that will enable us to live the healthiest life possible. Our efforts to provide you with access to nutritious food, clean water, decent housing, affordable electricity, jobs, resilient infrastructure, just society, and secure surroundings are solid proof to this.
While it is good to note the economic gains of having a lot of investments in the island, Romualdo said it is everybody's role to ensure that the environment will always be healthy and beautiful because after all, this is what the island is well known for.
For the PNA Newsroom, Rechi Paculba, Philippine Information Agency, Cagayan de Oro.
A look at our top global stories. The World Health Organization extended to Thursday its emergency talks on whether the novel coronavirus outbreak in China constitutes a public health emergency of international concern. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said they needed more information before deciding on whether they would declare an emergency. Chinese authorities on Thursday reported a total of 571 confirmed cases of pneumonia caused by the novel coronavirus in Hubei province, which resulted in 17 deaths. The megacity of Wuhan in central China, where the virus was said to have originated, has announced to suspend public transportation and close the airport and railway stations to outgoing passengers. City buses, subways, ferries, and long-distance coaches, as well as flights and trains for outgoing passengers, were suspended starting from 10 a.m. Thursday. Citizens are also asked not to leave the city without specific reasons. Good news for some K-drama and K-pop fans. South Korea is reducing its visa processing period starting February to at least 10 to 15 days. In a statement, the South Korean embassy in Manila said the reduced processing period will also be retained during the peak season from March to April. The embassy reminds that applying for a Korean visa prior to purchasing airline tickets is a must, since the issuance is subject to the approval of the consul in charge. The embassy, since July 2018, has only accepted walk-in applicants only for spouses and children of Koreans, holders of visa issuance number, government employees with an official business trip, and for those with humanitarian reasons to travel urgently. Due to the increase in applicants, the embassy in 2018 decided to process all temporary visitors' visa applications through designated travel agencies. We wrap up the week with some mouth-watering news. Residents of Cabagan, Isabela feasted on their native delicacy, the Pansi Cabagan, in celebration of their local noodle industry and in thanksgiving for their success for the past year. Our Joyce Kudis has the report.
Some 2,000 people partook of big servings of Pansi Cabagan at the Cabagan Square Park in Isabela on Thursday, as part of the week-long celebration of the 9th Pansi Festival in this town. For this year's celebration, organizers had the noodle dish served on tables forming 2020 to depict the current year. Villagers and restaurant owners in the town helped cook the Pansit Cabagan using 200 kilograms of Mickey noodles, 100 kilograms of pork meat and fish, 200 quail eggs and chicken eggs, chicharron, smoked fish, small shrimps, tuna, and squid strips, along with vegetables and other ingredients. The finished product was served in about 100 pieces of bilao or native woven tray and consumed by the local residents in less than 30 minutes. Mayor Christopher Mamawag said they decided on this to usher in the new decade, believing that the Year of the Rat would bring good fortune, wealth, and success in career and business to the villagers. The local rice noodle dish called Pansi is part of the rich history and culture of the people in their town. The annual tribute is a testament to the thriving native noodle industry and the farmers' bountiful harvest. Other events lined up for the Pansi Festival are a sports competition, Senior Citizens SK Balikbayan OFW Night, a beauty pageant, and a street dance to be held until Saturday. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Joyce Kudis.
Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. Malacanang said there is no recommendation yet to ban visitors from Wuhan, China entering the Philippines. Alert Level 4 still remains in effect over Taal volcano. President Duterte signs law raising taxes on alcohol beverages and electronic cigarettes. And Cabagan Isabela marks their annual Pansi Festival. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, check our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm Benj Bondok. Have a great weekend.